Welcome to Let's Talk Nonprofit with Brittany Johnson. Welcome to Let's Talk Nonprofit. Things are a little bit different this year. We have added our co-producer, as well as he's now a co-host with me, Mr. Kevin Randall. Can you please welcome Mr. Kevin Randall to the show? Bring him warm welcomes and greetings and salutations. Welcome, Mr. Kevin.
Well, thank you, Brittany. And as our listeners know, Brittany was working on her master's at the end of the year last year, so I had to step in a couple times. But we are a team, so we're here together. We're going to make sure you guys get that nonprofit news and all the different highlights and all that good information that we always try to share to you all. Excuse me.
Awesome. So let's jump right into it. So I see we have some nonprofit news that we want to disclose and talk about right now. So what you got, Kevin?
So, Brittany, on my end, I don't know if you've been paying attention to what's been going on nationally, right? But at the same time, what we're doing, nonprofit news, Let's Talk Nonprofit, we try to make sure that we follow up with all of the nonprofits, whether they're here local in Georgia or nationally, right? So I have a nonprofit that I've been reading up on. I don't know if you've been reading up on them. They're called Pianos for People, all right? They're based in St. Louis, Missouri. They have locations in Ferguson as well as, St. Louis as well as Ferguson. They're based in Missouri. So their motto is people need pianos. Pianos need people. So with that being said, you can kind of figure out what their mission is about, right? So it's restoring pianos and providing them to underfunded schools with low-income families, okay? Mm-hmm. So with that, what they get to do is kind of bring back the joy of, instruments in the household. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've kind of moved away from that. I know many of the kids I see nowadays, they're usually using iPads. I don't see any of them with drums or anything that they learn in school.
Instruments that because they took instruments out of the school, right? Like band. That was one of my favorite things to do is play in a band, because I played several different instruments. Mm-hmm. One of them being the piano, and so I'm glad to know that there's a nonprofit out there that are doing that are helping and making sure that pianos are working properly so that people can be able to play them in their homes. So that's really good.
Definitely. And you know where you can find them at? You can find them online at www.pianosforpeople.org, okay? So definitely check them out. Again, you want to definitely support all of the nonprofits that are definitely doing the work in the community.
Absolutely. And so we want to jump into the local news. So here in Atlanta, Wells Fargo is donating $20 million to the city of Atlanta to help small businesses. That will be distributed through United Way of Greater Atlanta, through partnerships and Invest Atlanta. And I think that is good, but in the form of grants and loans. So it's kind of good, but it still has their pros and cons to it, only because it's like you're getting a loan and you're going to have to pay it back. It's not really like grant funded money. So I'm like, okay, well, what are we to do here? And it's going through a larger incorporation or a larger nonprofit. That it's a lot of things that are going on, which I'm not at liberty to say, but I just feel like if they would just have another avenue for donating the $20 million, or give them, half and then another through a different entity where it can really push forth and it can be distributed amongst the nonprofits that are actually in need of the funds. Because I feel like that a lot of times these large nonprofits get the funds and they give it to their friends. Mm.
Yeah.
And so
they're partnerships.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And they're mostly getting the grants, but the ones that really need it, that have boots on the ground, I feel like they're getting the loans. So, we'll see how this play out. This is interesting to report. So I just want to see how everything is going to play out with this. So, we'll just sit back and watch, and then we'll talk more about it once we get more information. So, and if you want to find out more about this and any of the local news that's going on within the nonprofit sector, you can go to Georgia Center for Nonprofits, and that's www.gcn.org, and you can find out all the local news and even grant information. If you want to know about marketing or anything like that, just resources for Georgia nonprofits. So please check them out for the nonprofits that are out there. all the help is welcome. Okay.
Well, I know one thing. Wells Fargo probably donated a portion of my money because I was never getting my checks on time. I don't know about y'all, but I got some prejudice towards Wells Fargo. They might not be our sponsors after this, but I do know that I saw the reports, so I know they've been.
You can see their reports. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. You can see their reports.
I still got a checking account, but I'm debating.
You debating?
Okay. I'm debating.
Mm-hmm. All right, we will see how this play out, okay? So right now we want to move to our service highlight, and this is a portion of our I'm about to say service like we in church. This is a portion of our show where we highlight a nonprofit, a minority nonprofit that's out there really doing the work. And today we want to highlight I Am a Father First. It's an Atlanta-based organization founded by Keith A. Lewis Jr. and Jeremy Clark. Them two is to reduce the amount of fatherless homes in our communities through programming, resourcing, and a brotherhood for men and the children impacted by single-parent household. And they're doing great work. So if I know you probably seen the Water Boys that are probably on expressways, they're part of that effort and helping them not only helping them learn about entrepreneurship, but also giving them tools with inside and also giving them additional resources for the parents as well as them to help them move forward and matriculate through this thing we call life. Right. So they're doing great work. Please check them out at www.imafatherf1rst. So that's I'm a Father First, and that's first with a 1.com. So please, you guys, check them out. They're doing great work. I see them all the time. So please support. And now we want to move now into our guest speaker, Miss Bejanae Kareem.
Bejanae, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you all?
You're doing well.
All right. Well, welcome, Miss Bejanae. We have a special guest. Her name, I said already, but we have a special guest, Miss Bejanae. She is the founding executive director of BK International Education Consultancy. It is an international association for continuing education and training accredited provider of continuing education units that specializes in grant acquisition and consulting. Ms. Kareem has over 20 years of rich experience in PK and 18 education environments in education. So PK to what? You finished college? You mean?
That's right.
Awesome. And she is passionate about combining best practices in continuing education and training with grant resources to help novice grant writers hone their skills. So please, you guys, please help me welcome Miss Bejanae Kareem.
Thank you. Yay! So excited to be here.
Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to come on the show, and because you're kicking off this year for our podcast. So thank you for being our first guest of the year.
Yay! Bring it in for 2022.
Yes, 2022 is off to a great start. I would have to say so myself. So while we have you here, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and BK Consultancy?
Yes, absolutely. So as it was mentioned, my name is Bejanae Kareem. I am a veteran educator and an equity advocate and the founder and CEO of BK International Education Consultancy, where our mission is simple, is to build education equity by strengthening educator practices to create and sustain innovative learning spaces for all children. So regardless of their skin color, their zip code, their ability level, we want to create these innovative and inclusive learning spaces.
Well, that's wonderful. And so so tell us about what got you started in this sector.
Absolutely. So by training, I was a STEM major first. So I went to school for sciences. And then I later felt a calling into the education space. And so during my tenure as a classroom teacher for over 10 years, I merge pretty much my love for education and all things science and STEM together, and did cool things with my school. So was a robotics coach, coordinated some partnerships with NASA,
Nice. Okay.
coordinated school-wide, academic programs. So all that geeky, nerdy stuff, like we were bringing it to the kids, okay?
Doing the thing out there.
Look,
That's right.
Tell us a little bit more about those geeky things that you were discussing. Obviously, being a robotics teacher, I know that takes a lot of planning prior because you have to have built it beforehand, or at least know the steps to go about it. Can you kind of discuss a little bit more about those things and what you had to change?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I love the most about science and engineering is that it truly fosters a place for children and adults to be hands-on with their learning, right? I know for me, I'm a visual learner. I'm a kinesthetic learner, meaning I need to see things.
Absolutely.
I need to touch things, break things, try things out with my hands, and not just listen to them. And so, things that are STEM related, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or even STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, provide a space to be able to do so in an integrated way. Oftentimes, as educators, the traditional way is to kind of teach in silos, right? We teach English block here, and then we go to math, and then maybe we get to science, maybe we get to social studies. But with this integrative approach, you can tap into all those content areas and help children to touch and feel and see education come to life, as well as show how they're integrated in our daily world. So that's just a little bit about my background and really what prompted me to launch BK International Education Consultancy in 2012. At our core, what we do is serve children, but we do that by way of through adults. So when I say educators, we're building educator capacity. I mean parents, because there are educators in children's lives, traditional classroom teachers, you can be a teacher assistant, a daycare provider, you could be a school administrator, you could be wherever you're teaching, those are educators because they teach kids something along the way. And so that's just a little bit of how what inspired me to launch BK International Education Consultancy.
That is amazing. That's
very powerful. Now, Bejanae, I don't know if we discussed it, but where are you based out of?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are based out of Atlanta, Georgia. We have two offices here, one in Atlanta and Midtown. We have one in Jonesboro, and we also have a budding office in Washington, D.C.
Nice.
And I was so excited to hear about the plug that you all had earlier with the organization from St. Louis, because I'm from St. Louis. I was like, yeah, STL, ATL.
All right. Look,
That's right.
One time, but I won't. One time, but I won't.
Awesome. So can you tell the listeners about some of the programming that you all have in place?
Yeah, and we are very intentional about the programs that we offer, because me having been an educator for quite some time, a couple of the things that would used to frustrate me as an educator was that I would attend trainings that either I felt like it was a waste of my time, or they didn't move the needle for my kids. They weren't really targeted for my kids. Another thing that was frustrating for me, and anybody out there who's an educator, or if you know an educator, is that I found myself spending out of pocket for things for the classroom.
Yes.
Like, why am I spending out of pocket for things for the classroom?
When it's supposed to be provided for you, right?
Exactly. But you love the kids. You want to see them have the things that they need to support them, so you do it. And so what I wanted for BK International Education Consultancy was to provide programs and trainings that really spoke teacher language, that was teacher approved, so to speak, was a good use of their time. And it didn't just center around, oftentimes trainings tend to stick on the what and the why, but they never actually get to the practicality of the how. So yeah, you're telling me what to do and why it's important, but how do I do that? And do I have coaching support, as I implement this new thing, right? You get trained in the day and then, oh, voila, that's it. Good luck. And I hope you're a master of that and you implement that with your kids. And we don't want that here at BK International Education Consultancy. We've even gone through a rigorous process to be accredited by the International Association of Continuing Education and Training because of our high quality training that we offer. And so to get to your question, in terms of the programs that we offer, one, because STEM, one is my background and we love all things STEM and we want to find innovative ways, especially during the pandemic, to do school differently. We can't just teach in those silos anymore. We have to accelerate learning because kids are behind. So we have to do things different. And so we are finding that STEAM is one way to do that because it helps to foster so many things. So not only some of those technical skills, but some of those soft skills as well. So things like communication. You know, when you're working in small groups, you got to learn how to collaborate. And for a lot of children who have been working from home, you know, or learning from home, and they're having a hard time readjust to schooling, it helps to provide a space for collaboration, for communication, because you have to talk through and negotiate with your ideas and with your teammates. It also allows an opportunity for creativity because some kids don't have that outlet, as well as critical thinking. And so one of I'm gonna touch on maybe 4 or 5 of our key signature programs. Okay. So one is STEAM for school leaders because we want to help support school leaders change and shift the culture of their school that is more integrated. And so in order to do that, you have to start with visioning. You can't just start with, doing some random programs here and they're disjointed because teachers are going to say again, why are we doing this?
Right.
This is a waste of my time. I have other things that I need to do.
Exactly. Time is money.
Right. You want me to do, you take attendance 5 ways and do this. So we have to really start at this high level and then and narrow the scope. So STEAM for school leaders is one of our signature programs. It's pretty much like a boot camp for school leaders and helping to shift and rethink how they want to roll out a new program or curriculum for their schools, specifically around STEAM and STEM education. Okay. Another program that we have is called Project SMART. And so Project SMART is an intergenerational program. So when we do have programs that are not just adult-centered, we couple it with learning for adults and children. And Project SMART is just that. And so this is a summer enrichment program where teachers and children learn side by side. Teachers are learning how to do projects, STEM-based learning, whether it's in person or online, in what I call a low-stakes situation. In the summertime, it's a little bit calmer than during the normal school year. And they get a STEM mentor that helps to guide them through the process, model what type of STEM curriculum could look like, and then gradually release it so that teachers will take over the classroom and bridge their theory to practice. So what they've learned in training, they will apply it in real time with a group of students. And so the group of students benefit because you have multiple teachers in the classroom to help support, and they get this quality enrichment experience during out of school time. So there was a thing already called the summer slide, meaning students would slip and wouldn't retain some of the things that they learned during the school year. Well, now during the pandemic, children have slid beyond just the summertime, right? So this Project SMART helps students to really learn how communities work and how they can use their voice and leverage technology to make communities better in the Project SMART program. So that's another program. That's an intergenerational program. We have another program with one of our nonprofit partners who we love so much. Let me give a heart because we love.
Nice. Look, you got to talk about what's their name.
I'm about to tell you. Metamorphosis Powerhouse Company. Okay, and they are a powerhouse.
Say that one more time for our listeners, please.
Love her.
Metamorphosis Powerhouse Company. The founder is Josette Hutton Evans. And if you haven't signed her up for your show, you definitely need to get her on here because we partner a lot on projects. And one is a signature program called Transform the Spark. And this is also an intergenerational program so we went from the leaders of the school, right? And then we went to the teachers and students. Now we're helping families and childcare providers and children get ready before they enter into the school system. So it's a family literacy program that also infuses STEM. So what we do is, we have kids, families, providers learn about what is culturally rich text? What does that even mean? What are diverse books? How do you find a quality one? And then how can you take that story and make it come alive and interactive by doing some type of STEM activity connected to it?
Okay.
And so that is a great program that it's in our second year.
Nice.
That has been getting some really great traction. So that's a third program. And then some other things we have, of course, if you want to do these cool things around STEM and have projects with NASA and robotics, you got to have money. You got to know where the dollar's at.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so to create that, those innovative learning spaces, you also have to sustain it through funding. So we help support educators, school districts, nonprofits, be able to find funding for their programs. And so we think that is key and critical to this trifecta of, innovative, inclusive learning space, but also being able to sustain that.
Definitely. And you know what, Bejanae, the programs in which you were discussing, all of them I felt like offered real world examples, especially to the participants within it. That's the real theme in which I caught as you were discussing it. I know obviously as the pandemic set in, families had to adjust to, how do you go about learning, and one thing I found is many parents didn't know their children actually until the pandemic happened. Their kids
they got a rude awakening.
Right. It's like,
they caught another side. That's for sure.
They said, I don't want this job.
But you know what? But also within that, just not to take it on a darker note, but within that, that's another way for the parent to get a better understanding of how they have been with their child too. From a parenting side, having worked in the communities, I definitely saw a good deal of that myself. So as you were discussing, you guys transitioning to doing virtual, because honestly, at the end of the day, that's what we have to do.
That's exactly right. And also the support that educators need, right? Their job ain't easy.
Not at all.
By far.
Yeah, and that's what made it more I think like serendipity, for certain parents. Is like, you know what, I'm understanding now for the teachers of what they're doing in the household, in the classroom, and what they have to deal with. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Kudos to you all for adjusting, because again, it's about being proactive as opposed to reactive, and you guys obviously have been taking that mission and running with it.
Thank you. Absolutely. We wear that with a badge.
Yes.
There you go. You can look better,
honor.
Better with a badge.
So
badge of honor
brings me to my next question. And so what resources do you have for teachers so that they can understand or know how to navigate through this and also find grant funding? What resources do you have for them?
Oh, I got some resources now.
Okay,
let me tell you.
Let's talk about it.
List them.
As an educator, the girl is all about resources. Educators are about a resource, especially a free resource,
Right.
but I'll tell you about a resource. So what I started doing after I transitioned out of the classroom, launched BK International Education Consultancy, started doing a little digging, a little research, and I actually want to thank the Corona and the pandemic for providing me time to sit down to actually do this research, because what I unearthed is that 94% of U.S. educators are spending out of pocket, which creates a financial strain, because as we know, teachers don't get paid a lot in the first place. And also the research that I dug up found out that schools in the U.S., particularly in areas of poverty or in communities of Black and brown children, are consistently underfunded.
Right.
So what we have is this layering effect. So you have underfunded schools. So that means the kids aren't getting access to all that they could access for their educational means. And then to try to compensate for that, you have teachers who are not getting paid a lot in the first place, trying to fill in the gaps, which is creating a harm and a burden for them. Right? So I'm like, wait a minute. I'm thinking with my scientific mind here, my science mind, my engineer. This is a problem. This is a problem that needs to be fixed, right? That needs to be fixed. So during 2020, I spent the time that my mom had been telling me for so long. She's like, you need to write a book. I'm like, write a book on what? And so I was like, you know what? I want to provide a grant writing starter guide to educators to show them how they can circumvent having to spend out their pocket and the underfunding that they receive for their schools and tap into the millions of dollars that are already out there in grants.
Absolutely.
And all they have to do is leverage their lesson plan. So when I was in the classroom, because I got tired of spending out of pocket, and I'm like, it has to be a better way, Lord.
Right.
It has to be a better way. Show me a better way.
Invoicing.
Exactly. There has to be a better way. I picked up grant writing. And what I found, I was like, oh, okay, this is similar to, I can take pieces from my lesson plan
And apply
and put this application together. There you go. There you go. And so 2020, at the end of 2020, it took me a whole year. I created this text. It's called 12 Quick Steps to Writing Winning Classroom Grants.
Nice.
And as you can see, I know educators don't have a lot of time, so it's a quick read.
It's an easy read, yes.
It's an easy read. It's quick.
I got my copy.
Bejanae is on point, everybody. For our listeners that cannot see, our listeners on Spotify, Google Music, Amazon Music, Bejanae just pulled up her book. She put it on screen, right, while she's discussing it. So at the end of the day, you got to make sure you sell yourself too, okay? And definitely in that moment, for our listeners, just know that you can pick up 12 quick steps to winning classrooms and grants on her website, right?
You can go to our website at www.bkconsultancy.org. You can, I know everybody loves Amazon. You can also go to Amazon and get a copy as well and get that thing shipped to you quickly with Prime, if you like.
Right.
And the great thing about it is that because I am an educator at heart, is that I wasn't trying to hit anybody over the head with the cost of the book. Like right now, I have a sale on Amazon where you can get the paperback or the hardback book for $20. Like that's a win. I would rather spend $20 on a grant writing resource where I can possibly get hundreds, thousands of dollars for my classroom that I'm not going to be reimbursed back on my taxes. It just sounds like an easy return of investment. So this is one of those resources that you mentioned that we have for educators. We also have what I call my master class, grant writing for educator master class. So I know for some, reading the book, that's cool. They'll knock it out. That's great. It has exemplars of winning grants that I wrote that are embedded in the book. Okay. I have some comprehension checks in there. So as you're reading along, just to make sure that you're understanding the content. I have a couple of visuals in there. I have a 12-step proven method on how to win a classroom grant. And for that matter, that 12 proven step method can be used for nonprofits, small businesses, really for anybody.
Nice. Okay.
Yes.
That's good. That's really good to know. So $20, you can't beat that for anybody that's in a nonprofit sector, small business, and that is a teacher. I mean, you're covering all fronts right now. So you're winning in my book.
Thank you.
Books. Speaking of books. Definitely.
Yeah.
Bejanae, real quick, let me ask you this. Now, as you discuss, obviously, I'm not going to try and discuss your whole book because people got to buy it.
Right.
But when you discuss grants, can you kind of, I guess, give our listeners, as well as viewers, a little insight on the maybe some quick things to keep in mind as they go about grant writing and finding grants?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a common question. People want to know, well, where do I go? Well, where do I go? Well, in the book, you'll find out that the first step to your grant is not finding the grant. The first step to grant writing is being clear on what need or what problem that you're solving.
I like that.
So for an educator, it may be simple, right? Like if you're teaching, second grade, and you know that your children are struggling maybe with literacy or with reading, right? That's a problem that you can solve and write a grant for. Okay. So if you're a nonprofit, say you're a nonprofit and your focus is on helping to support homeless women, for example, that's your target audience. and what their needs are. It could be several things, but you want to focus in, maybe hone in on one thing. As you start off with grant writing, focus on one, keep it simple.
Okay.
And then find a grant that supports that mission or has that as a focus.
Okay.
So people often, they want to go find the money. Where the money? Pull it back and be clear on what is the need and the problem that you are tackling and help to support, either through your nonprofit or, as an educator or even a business, for example. I'm using the same 12-step method and been awarded small business grants from Comcast, from Facebook. So it works. And so start with the need or the problem that you're addressing first, and then find a grant that matches that.
Okay. Well, that's good tips for me as well. So I'm taking notes. Okay.
Okay.
I'm taking notes. I wrote down your programs as well. So I'm like, this is really great to know, so I can pass this information on. But instead of me passing on, why don't you tell our listeners how they can reach out to you?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, you can find us at our website at www.bkconsultancy.org. So that's www.bkconsultancy.org. You can also find us on social media, of course.
Okay.
So either on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube at BK Consultancy. Or if you're on the gram, you can find us at BK_consultancy. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, IG. Actually, we're on LinkedIn as well. So you can find us on LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
So all those places.
Right. And if you're having trouble finding her there, please go to our page, and we're following each other. So therefore you can find her there as well.
There you go. You'll see the bright green logo.
There you go.
Right.
You can't miss it.
I have a question for you before we let you go.
Absolutely.
Now, when you were discussing some of the experiences you had working in the classroom, and obviously with the children having to put money towards it yourself, there's a show out now that's called Abbott Elementary.
Oh yes.
Okay, you're familiar with it. Okay, so
I love that show.
I don't know how much you've seen of it, but I know the show centers around teachers in a school in Philadelphia that the money just isn't there for the students.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Make the experiences better for the students, just to give our listeners and watchers a little bit insight on it. First off, you watched the show, correct?
That's right. Yes.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on it?
I love it. I love the show. I was even sliding into some of the cast members' DM. They're probably like, "Who is this crazy lady?" That's emailing us. Right. I hope they listen to me, because I really would like to be able to give away some of my books on their show, because what their show touches on is so true. And yes, they do it in a comical way and, put a little spin. They have a little love stories going on, but they're getting at the core essence of what educators are experiencing and goes through. And if you really take a step back, it's almost frightening, and it's sad as a way, because in order for you to be anything else in life, you have to have a teacher. You have to go through school.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so why aren't we supporting educators better? The other thing that is problematic and that I'm finding is that thanks to our current administration, there have been floods, billions of dollars that have been flooded into school districts like they've never had before, right? Which is great. Yeah, absolutely, right? Especially for those underfunded schools, right? Especially. But the problem is that money is not trickling down to the classroom. If you ask an educator today who is teaching during the pandemic, I bet you they'll still say they don't have the things that they need. Just like in the show in Abbott's Elementary, I bet you they will say they still don't have what they need, whether it's PPE, or whether it's books, whether it's technology programs that they want, to have their kids to access, and they still don't have everything. Why is that? And there's billions of dollars being flooded in school. Why is that?
Then you begin to ask, what are they doing with the money?
Right. Why the teacher got a new car? Why the teacher got a Porsche?
So we begin to ask these mind-blowing questions, but are we going to really get the true answer as to how or why these children still are behind where they are in school? They don't have the right books. The books are not up to date, and why teachers still have to pay for stuff out of pocket.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
But they can. There's a remedy to it, which is going to get your book.
Yes, absolutely.
So I encourage everybody to get, what is it called again? 12
It's called
steps.
12 quick steps to writing winning classroom grants.
See, the winning is a key word, because
you gotta win. That's
you're
right.
guaranteed to get a grant.
Definitely. Bejanae stamps it. Y'all definitely pick up her book. And we definitely appreciate you for coming on the show today, Bejanae. And Brittany, you have any last remarks that you want to have for us?
No, I thank you so much.
Definitely.
Thank you, girl.
I thank you both. It's been a pleasure. It's been so fun. And thank you for lifting voices, particularly of people of color. Thank you for lifting our voices.
Absolutely. That's what we do, because we're going to talk about it, okay?
Here, let's talk now.
That part.
Please
Right.
talk about it. All right, we need
That's right.
We're gonna have to have you as a co-guest one day.
Hey, I'm here for it now.
We love your energy, and we definitely want to make sure we follow and support as well. Okay.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Please, her information is going to be scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Please check it out, take a listen, and also make sure that you, if you can't find her on these social media platforms, you can go to our page and she's right there. Definitely. All right. Well, take care, Miss Bejanae, and we'll be talking soon, okay?
Bye. Have a great one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was Bejanae. She's great.
Yes, she was.
Look, the fact that she, one, had the background, and then also the way she pulled up that book is the book plug. I was
right,
like, okay.
It's a book.
Right.
I mean,
that was
it's her book, so she is a plug.
Right,
you know,
right.
And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to bring forth information and tools and resources for our listeners that are in a nonprofit sector, so they are having other avenues to go through if they're needing funding and ways to get funding. And so she has a $20 book that you all can purchase, so that you all are able to gather those resources and know how to write those grants. And really, what she's talking about is strategic planning, like writing out the plan and making it plain, so that you're able to go through and acquire for the grants that you will like to obtain.
Yeah, if you need the money, you want the money. If you're in a nonprofit, foundation, service industry, the grants are there, opportunities. So 12 quick steps to winning classrooms grants, all right?
Absolutely. So as we close out, we want to take a moment for our motivational moment.
Greetings and blessings to you. I am Joanne Dean, founder of Inspired by Joanne, a community created for the professional woman to pause, reconnect with herself, and own who she is. Today's inspiration comes from my book, It Begins With You, a journey of faith, forgiveness, and instructions for how to move forward. God has a divine plan into which we all fit perfectly. When He calls you to an assignment, your decision about whether or not to reply with a yes does not only affect you. Someone else is depending on your yes. Everything does not have to be perfect in order for you to say yes and to embrace something new. Who else is depending on your yes today? Until next time, continue to walk by faith, and remember, it all begins with you. Take care.
Well, thank you, Miss Joanne Dean, for always giving us those great motivational moments. We appreciate you each and every time. So wanted to close out our segment for this evening. We appreciate you all stopping by and listening to us, and we appreciate Miss Bejanae Kareem and BK Consultancy for her wealth of knowledge and information and resources that she has for anybody who's interested in grant writing or writing their own grants. So you can find us. Where can they find us, Kevin?
You can find us online. We are at Let's Talk Nonprofit. We are on Instagram, LinkedIn, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts. We're on quite a few platforms. So what we'll do is definitely visit our Instagram. You can find all the information on there. Facebook as well. all our listeners, our followers, viewers, we appreciate you all. As you see, we're definitely trying to get more engaged with our listeners and as well as our viewers too. So definitely follow us online, all right?
Yes, Let's Talk Nonprofit ATL on Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, Let's Talk Nonprofit, and Twitter, S_nonprofit. So until then, let's talk about it.